краудфандинга, запустивший более 20 проектов. В 2008 году основал онлайн-шоппинг-клуб, выручка которого в настоящий момент составляет 18 миллиардов рублей в год. Предприниматель года в номинации «Мастер инвестиций» Оскар Хартман.
Ребята, давайте поприветствуем Ричарда по-настоящему! Ребята, так как Ричард любит бить мировые рекорды, я ему пообещал, что мы сейчас побьем мировой рекорд. Самое громкое произношение слова virgin в истории человечества. Мне нужна ваша помощь, сейчас на 3 скажем 10 раз virgin. Начнем тихо, virgin. И потом будем увеличивать громкость, 10-й раз должен быть 140 децибель. У меня есть децибеломер. Давайте, ребята, поддержите меня, для Ричарда подарок. Раз, два, три. Virgin, 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 virgin. Ура! 135, ребята, 135. 135 decibel for you, Richard.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's a lovely welcome.
So this is the present from Russia to you. There's so much love for you, for your entrepreneurial career. So let's jump right into it. What people want, I asked people to send me questions for you. And the number one question was, the secret of, what is the secret? Because there's only 3,000 people in the world who build $1 billion business. And there's only 500 people in the world who build multiple $1 billion businesses. So it's less, what you did, less people did that than to run a marathon in 2:15. It's a really big achievement. What is behind this? What simple truth do you know that most people don't know?
Ouch. So I think the key to success. What is the key to success? I think the first thing that can't be underestimated is how you deal with people. If you, as somebody who loves people, who's good at inspiring and looking after people, then I think you can achieve pretty well anything. And I think over the years I've managed to surround myself with incredible people. A lot of people who are better than me, people with different skills, and I've given them that freedom to go and create wonderful things. To make mistakes, not to praise those people, not to criticize those people, and I think with the right team, you can enjoy the successes and you can hold yourself together during the difficult times. So the team of people you get are the number one most important thing you can do. Lots of people have lots of great ideas, but without a great team to put them into practice, you're not going to succeed. I'm very inquisitive. I love to learn, and if I see a situation where I feel something could be done better, I'll jump in and try to do it better. And in the process, we've created some, obviously some very successful businesses all over the world. But I think everything comes back to that team.
Yeah, this ability to learn or the willingness to learn is also visible because you always start a new company in a new industry, entering new industries that you have never done before. Even after you already reach success, you continued taking big risk, because a new industry is a big risk for the reputation of the group, for you. What is the motive behind this action? You know, what is the motive to constantly, never ending, take this new risk on yourself?
I think it's partly personal. I mean, I never went to university. I left school at 15, and I've seen life as almost like one long university education that I never had. So I'm learning all the time, and you know, if I'm learning about the train business, I'm learning about you know, the airline business, I'm learning about the record business, I'm learning about the space business, and so on. And it's just been a fascinating, the airline business. People said, you know, how could somebody from, you know, who's entertaining people possibly, you know, go into the airline business? But the point is, you know, people who fly on planes, they want to be entertained, they want to have a good time, they want to have an enjoyable 8 hours, and the airlines in those days did not offer you, you know, a great experience. I mean, I have told this story before, but I will tell it again, how I got into the airline business. I was in Puerto Rico one day, and I was trying to get to the Virgin Islands. And I had a lovely lady waiting for me in the Virgin Islands, and I'd been away for 3 weeks, and I was 28 years old. And American Airlines decided they didn't have enough passengers on the flight, so they decided to tell us all to come back the next morning. And I was damned if I was going to come back the next morning. I wanted to see my lady that night. So I went to the back of the airport and I hired a plane, and I borrowed a blackboard, and I wrote on the blackboard, Virgin Airlines, one way to the British Virgin Islands, $39, and I went to all the passengers who got bumped, and I filled my first plane. And when we arrived in the British Virgin Islands, somebody said to me, you know, sharpen up the service a bit and you could be in the airline business. And literally the next day I rang up Boeing and said, do you have any second-hand 747s for sale? And you know, they asked me what my name of my company was. And I said, you know, we have the Rolling Stones, we have the Sex Pistols on our record label. The company's called Virgin. And there was a long pause, and they said, well, you know, whatever happens, you should change the name of the company, because nobody would ever go on an airline called Virgin, because they'd all assume that the airline wouldn't go the whole way. And but anyway, they let us have a 747.
Amazing. But what is the energy behind this courage? Because what I hear is, you know, courage, just taking big actions. And what is the source for your courage, for your drive? What do you think?
I think, I suspect there's quite a lot of people in the audience who are thinking about whether they should start a business. And I think, you know, the first thing you have to do is to have an idea that's going to make people's lives better. That's all a business is. If you have an idea that's going to make people's lives better and it's not being done well by other people, then you have a business, and you just got to say, screw it, you know, let's do it, let's get out there and give it a go. I think that goes back a number of generations in Russia, whereas in America or the UK, people, I think, have got over that fear of failure, and if you try something and you fail, you pick yourself up and you try again until you succeed. And I think it's important that Russian society appreciates people who try things and don't necessarily succeed the first time. And from what I've heard, I think that attitude is, you know, is moving and changing in that positive direction. you can learn so much from trying something. You learn, I suspect, more from failing. Obviously, it's best not. But then the next time or the next time, you should succeed.
Can you go into more detail on this? If you speak about failure, I remember Virgin Coke, and there's some other big initiatives that failed. What did you learn from it, and what do you do today as a result of these learnings when you start something?
Well, we thought we could take on Coca-Cola and knock them into #2 position in the world, and Virgin could become the #1 brand in the world. And for about a year, we were succeeding. We were outselling Coke and Pepsi. But I made the mistake of arriving in Times Square in a tank and crushing a lot of Cola and Pepsi signs. And I think I woke up a giant, and they got a plane full of SWAT teams and cash, and they arrived in the UK, and the Virgin Cola just disappeared from all the shelves. So I think, you know, what we learned from that was, if you are going to take on a company much bigger than yourself, make sure your product's much better. So, you know, when Virgin Atlantic took on British Airways, we were a lot better. And when they tried to crush us, we took them to court. We won a big court case, and they backed off. But with a can of cola, you can't be, you know, fundamentally different from the other people. So now we only go into businesses where we're, you know, much better than all our competitors.
Okay. So to finish this failure, if you would imagine the audience would be you when you were 16, before it all started, what would you tell yourself? Like you tell it to the audience, like you're speaking to yourself when you're 16.
Well, yeah. All I would say to myself is, you know, don't do anything particularly different. I think if I was 16, I have an idea. You fail if you don't do something about it. You know, the important thing is just to say, screw it, let's do it, let's, you know, get on and give it a go. And you know, obviously you know this as well as I do. The important thing is just to try it, and you may even find by trying it that other ideas spin off it. I mean, we started with a magazine for young people. We soon realized that young people were actually more interested in music than they were in magazines, and we started advertising, selling music cheaply in the magazine. And so once you actually get going, if you keep your eyes open, you know, lots of other opportunities will come. But if you don't get going, you know, that's fine too. I mean, you just make the best of working for somebody else, and you can have a great life doing that. But it may not be quite as exciting and rewarding as trying to set up your own business.
So you would not tell yourself, don't do Virgin Cola?
No, I think I would. I mean, like, you know, even by taking on Coca-Cola, it helped the brand. I mean, although we failed, you know, people don't mind people who take on a big giant. You know, I mean, if David hadn't succeeded in dropping Goliath, David still would have gone down in history. So, you know, you shouldn't be embarrassed about trying things and not succeeding.
Okay, let's speak about philanthropy a little bit, because at what age did you have the idea that you are ready to give back? I know you created Virgin Unite, and you support a lot of initiatives which are non-profit. What is the logic behind? What is your focus at the moment? How do you look at philanthropy? I think there's a video about Virgin Unite. Maybe we can you play the video, please?
For Virgin Unite was started because we wanted to bring all of the entrepreneurial energy across the whole Virgin Group to look at how can we radically transform the way we do business.
In a world where we're facing a number of problems right now, economic or otherwise, that's really the time for entrepreneurs to shine, to make opportunities out of challenges.
To be in that environment of being with the people who share the same ideas as you, they make you feel proud of what you're doing.
The elders can become a fiercely independent and robust force for good.
We have been able, through their good offices, to get $18 million.
What we're all about is helping create good, viable business opportunities out of carbon emission mitigation.
Thank you. Yes, I think in the past, I think a lot of businesses felt that governments and the social sector should sort out the problems of the world. I think in the last 10 years, more and more businesses are realizing that we should help governments and the social sector sort out the problems of this world. And that if every single entrepreneur in the world can adopt at least one problem, maybe two, maybe three problems, that most of the problems in this world can be solved. And so we set up organizations like the B Team to try to unite businesses, to try to get on top of some of the bigger problems of this world. In Paris, we were there as the B Team and also as the elders, trying to make sure that the Paris talks were successful in agreeing the climate change resolutions that took place a year ago. The elders, it's a wonderful organization which you could see Archbishop Tutu and Nelson Mandela. We set them up to try to resolve conflicts. the elders have been here. You know, they've spent a weekend with President Putin. You know, they've been to Iran, they've been to North Korea, they've been to Myanmar, and Kofi Annan heads up the elders, and they basically quietly behind the scenes are trying to, bridge gaps in the world, and obviously one of the saddest things I think that's happened is that, you know, I was there when the Berlin Wall came down. It was a wonderful day. You know, we embraced each other. The Russian people are as close to being, you know, close to Europe and, you know, as anybody. I mean, we're all human beings. We get on great when we meet each other. And we've got to try to make sure that this sort of Cold War mentality that seems to be developing again is stopped, and that we can, you know, that Russia and Europe become one, and we can get rid of the stupidness that's been going on in the last few years, and that's where somebody that, like the elders, I think, can play a role.
And I mean, this is amazing. Thank you very much, Richard, for inspiring us to take action. But what is your thinking behind to focus just on one thing, for example, just the elders, or to focus on multiple activities, because the world is a big place with a lot of problems? I'm sure you think a lot. How should you distribute your focus? What is your thinking behind?
I'm an entrepreneur, and therefore it's impossible for me just to focus on one thing. I mean, entrepreneurs see problems, and we want to address problems. And if we don't have time to do every problem in the world, we will delegate, we'll find good people to manage our businesses or manage our foundations. But we won't just take on one or two projects in our lifetime. So, you know, like if you take Russia right now, you know, you have a major drug problem in Russia. We have something called the Global Drug Commission, which has 15 ex-presidents on it. We've studied the war on drugs. The war on drugs has been an abject failure. And yet, countries like Russia, countries like America, continue to wage this war. And wars don't work. They didn't work in Vietnam, they didn't work in Iran. Wars never work, and wars against drugs do not work. What you need to do is somebody needs to go on television and say, we will never send anybody who has a drug problem to prison ever again. Drugs will be treated as a health problem, not a criminal problem. If somebody has an alcohol problem, we will help them. If somebody has a drug problem, we will help them. And in that is the way to overcome the problem and to get people to reduce their addiction. And countries that have taken that approach, you know, to overcome this problem. And so, you know, so as a businessman, when I see countries like Portugal or Germany getting on top of their drug problems in that way, you know, I want to come to Russia, I want to come to America and try to suggest to them that they should change approach, and that's why I'm involved in something like the Global Drug Commission. And I think business people can see these things sometimes more clearly than one of the problems that a politician has is quite often that they're appointed. If they're successful, after 2 years in one ministry, they're moved on to another ministry. If they're successful in that, after 2 years, they're moved on to another ministry. If they're not successful, after 2 years, they're out altogether. So they never have the time to really study and understand the issues of the world. Whereas I think the entrepreneurs in this room, I've been 50 years as an entrepreneur. You've got a lifetime to look at all these problems, and you can actually perhaps understand them and help the politicians and help the social sector.
We are very much focused on entrepreneurship development, so today is a big day for me. That's why I support Synergy Global. I teach at the Synergy MBA program because we believe, like you signed the Bill Gates Giving Pledge, and we are signing today the Entrepreneurship Pledge because we want to dedicate our lives that more entrepreneurs become like you, build $1 billion business and start giving back, start thinking bigger. So I think this is a great story and inspiration. So I would like to switch a little bit to you personally. What role did your personal brand play in your life and in your business? Because I checked on Google, your name is one of the most searched names in business. How do you think about this? How does it help trust? How does it help to create something new?
When I started, we were taking on somebody like British Airways, who had 300 aeroplanes. Pan Am and TWA with 300 aeroplanes. We had one plane. And if you're very, very, very small against really big competitors, and you don't have much money, you have to use yourself to get out and promote your brand. I even went to took fairly extraordinary risks in trying to break the transatlantic record for the fastest boats, and trying to fly around the world in balloons, so in a sense I put my life on the line to try to get the brand well known. They became great adventures in themselves, but they certainly helped put the Virgin brand on the map. They gave it a much more adventurous image than, say, British Airways, who we were competing against, and it enabled, Virgin Atlantic to grow into what it is today. I think we have a very short video of some of the ballooning. My son just made a feature film called "Don't Look Down," which is on Netflix, but we might just quickly show a tiny little clip, I think.
Sure.
I saw my life flash before my eyes. It was just me, landing on top of the capsule, looking down at the water. I wrote a note to the kids, telling them how much I loved them. And then I prepared to jump.
Richard Branson's made a career out of breaking tradition and has a flair for self-promotion.
Virgin were getting big and bigger. I knew that I just had to use myself to get Virgin on the front pages rather than a little anecdote on the back pages. I saw this incredible challenge to be the first people to cross the Atlantic in a hot air balloon.
The prize was fabulous. Richard's full of uphill. Let's do it.
He has great faith in other people. Misplaced in my view.
6 people have tried, 5 have perished.
The pop music millionaire is almost ready for his latest challenge.
I'm a little bit nervous, and of course I'm a bit nervous.
I've been bringing him up all his life not to share his fear.
My mother had enormous expectations. I had to do some pretty extraordinary things in my life.
All people stay behind the barricades.
Being dyslexic at school, I would get nothing right. Nothing.
The first ever transatlantic flight in a hot air balloon.
I'd left school at 15. I'd completely failed. I suppose I had a lot to prove. We headed up to 30,000 feet. It's beautifully serene. As long as nothing interrupts that serenity, there's nothing more magical.
This is Pacific Fire. I think we're in serious trouble.
Someone had taken the top of the balloon and dragged it.
We were completely out of control.
And then everything went black.
Are you going to try it again soon?
Thank you. I think I've retired from doing ballooning. Obviously, our next big adventure is space. And I saw the moon landing when I was 18 years old on a little black and white television set. And I was completely captivated by space. And I assumed that one day either America, Russia, China would sort of really sort of open up the chance for people to go to space. And I waited and waited and waited, and it didn't really happen properly. So about 12 years ago, we embarked on trying to build our own space line, Virgin Galactic. And I hope, a couple of months from now, to maybe 3 months, Virgin Galactic will finally be in space, and the whole new space era will open up, where a lot of people in this room, hopefully one day, will be able to go to space, and will be able to afford to go to space.
How much does it cost now?
It's not cheap, but to go up on a Russian spaceship's about 35 million. To go up on Virgin, it's $250,000. And in time, the price, well, in the short term, it'll go up a bit because it's cost us a lot to get there, but in the long term, it'll come down. There are three of us who are already building independent space lines. So there's Jeff Bezos, myself, and Elon. And we've all taken slightly different approaches. But I think, over the next couple of years, it's going to be a very, very exciting time for space travel. And we're also, building a big array of satellites around the Earth with a company called OneWeb to connect the 4 billion people who are not connected at the moment. I know we've done 1 or 2 videos, but let's just have a quick space video, I think.
Before we start the video, how many tickets did you already sell?
Nearly 900 tickets.
1,000 people already have a ticket to go and waiting for the breakthrough. Okay, let's look at the video. Virgin Galactic.
The exploration of space will go ahead. And it is one of the great inventions of all time.
Humans have managed to learn so much about the universe in such a relatively small time frame compared with the life of the universe, and that was always very incredible to me.
I think that I and most of the people in this team choose to be in space because you're part of something that is changing the way humans look at the world, the way we relate to each other, the way we live.
We have an opportunity here to do aerospace better, and we're doing it on a landmark program that's going to change the world.
By bringing hundreds and eventually thousands of people into space, they'll get a different perspective on life and on our future. And that over time, that will have a profound impact on how humanity faces its toughest problems.
Together, we can make space accessible in a way that has only been dreamt of before now. And by doing that, we can truly bring positive change to life on Earth.
I'd love to go into space. I think it could be nothing nicer. So if you're building a spacecraft, I'd love to come with you on it.